Why do stocks and bonds and all other things fluctuate in price? Why do they go up? Why do they go down? And in general, why do stocks tend to increase over time? Why does the market grow and grow and grow and historically continue growing? I'm going to break it up for you in terms of three big things. So number one is general economic growth. That is the big umbrella term under which pretty much everything else falls. The reason for the general uptrend in the stock market over time is because economic growth. Over time, our economy grows. The U.S. economy has been growing. There have obviously been points of contraction, but in general, it does continue to grow. As we have a nation that innovates and does all these things, hopefully that trend continues on indefinitely, and that we continue to grow and improve the nation, the economy, the things we produce, the things we offer in terms of medical supplies, in terms of medical procedures, all these things that are just so useful for the world, along with other things like electric vehicles and things that will help preserve the world, all these things. We want to keep creating and making them better and better over time. And that's going to produce more economic growth, and essentially the market should follow that trend where it increases over time. The second thing, the more drilled down aspect, is supply and demand. So on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, there's a reason that a stock will go from $500 to $510 to $490 to $600 even. And that's supply and demand. So say, for example, I'm kind of talking about Tesla. You've probably seen a Tesla on the street. You probably know about Elon Musk. You've probably had a thought or two, or even a conversation or two about this company in the last year. And their stock in particular is extremely volatile. It can do $100 price fluctuations in one day. And that's based on supply and demand. So in the morning, it could be $600. But then the market is flooded with demanders, people that want to buy the stock. And eventually the suppliers will see this and they'll say, hey, this $600, maybe I can charge $610 for the stock. And based on what people demand, if they still want it at $610, the price will then continue to go up. And if they try to raise it to $620 and the demand is, a little bit below that, they're not going to buy as much of it. So it's going to come back down a little bit. And maybe they'll meet in the middle at $615. And then later on in the day, something else could happen. More people could come in wanting the stock, and the demand could rise even more, thus making the suppliers realize they can charge $650 for the stock, and then the people demanding it will pay that. It depends how much is being supplied and how much demand there is to buy that supply. That's kind of the crux of economics in general, is supply and demand. If you can understand supply and demand, the supply and demand, then you can basically understand everything else in economics. Yeah. So, Tesla. In general, a company that seems to be growing over time, doing more sales, increasing their worth. They've been going up, their stock price has been going up, and people have been supplying it, and there's been more demand. So the demand has outpaced the supply, thus the price of it has gone up. The last, probably not the biggest, but in my opinion, the reason why there are kind of, instantaneous and more price fluctuations than just if robots were doing this, and that's emotion. People are incredibly emotional about money. In my opinion, I would say money is probably the most thought about topic in the entire world. Just in terms of raw, sheer number of thoughts about it. People are super nervous about it. People think about it. They obsess about it. It's the topic that every day I would say probably everyone every day has at least one thought about money. And that's just how powerful it is. It's scary, but it's also interesting. So, emotions. In the case of Elon Musk, you may have seen that he has a Twitter and he tweets, and his tweets alone can move his company's stock one way or another. There was a day where he tweeted something ridiculous and it dropped off. And then there was a day where he tweeted something great and everyone was like, oh, let's buy more Tesla. That's great. So he's kind of fostered this, cult of personality around that. And I think that that's interesting. It's very new. But in general, people can have good or bad emotions about that and thus feel the same way about the stock. The other thing is when a company releases earnings, if Tesla's earnings weren't quite good enough, they can be the people that own the stock and say, maybe this isn't a good long-term bet, and they can sell a bunch of it. And the stock can just drop because people don't feel so good about it anymore. Just overnight, they can just say, yeah, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. Let's drop it. Then the other people can say, I thought that was great. I think this is going somewhere. I think he's got something going here. They do great research on batteries. They're running the electric vehicle market. I think this is awesome. I'm jumping in. And they just jump in at whatever price it is just because they're emotionally charged behind it and they want it. And if there are enough of that person, the demand is going to outpace the supply yet again, and the price will go up again. So that's why it can go like this on any given day or week or month, and can do this over time because you kind of have this company that's doing well, has this personality behind it, has someone leading the charge, and whether you like or don't like Elon Musk, I at least cannot help but be somewhat amazed by what's happened with their stock over time. Zooming out one last time, the biggest market mover, if you will, is economic growth. Economic growth is what's pushing everything up over time. Companies are innovating. Companies are making more money. Apple's making more money. They're selling more iPhones. It's incredible how fast they're doing that and how successful they're being at it. They're the most valuable company, and they've just gained value over time. Part of that is, of course, inflation. iPhones cost more now, so that, what 100 iPhones sold for 10 years ago, not even 10 years ago. Wait, maybe, no. Yeah. Wait, you can do 10 years ago. Wow, that's crazy. What iPhones sold for 10 years ago, 100 iPhones sold for 10 years ago versus what 100 iPhones sell for now is a much higher price between the two. So there's a difference there, and that is partially due to inflation, but also partially due to the fact that they've been improving their iPhones, and now people charge more for smartphones. Either way, companies grow over time, and this growth pushes the stocks up. And then along that way, there's supply and there's demand, and the people that demand it kind of draw that price up along with it, thus making the demand outpace the supply and grow the price. So if there's 100 stocks being supplied for $100 and there's demand of 200, they can raise the price to 150, and then that demand will probably drop down to about 100 or so. Just kind of a rough estimate there, saying that the price will go up so that it can meet in the middle of supply and demand, and everyone can be happy. And then last thing, of course, emotions. Everyone's emotional about money. I'm emotional about money. You might be emotional about money, and you're probably emotional about where you put that money. So if there's a scandal that breaks about a company, a lot of people will drop the stock just because that's an emotionally charged event, and they think that the price will go down because of it, or maybe the company isn't as successful because of it. But emotion in general is something that can be a major factor in the way that stocks move. So I hope that was helpful. Keep in mind those three major things, and you'll probably see these all happen over time while you're looking at the market, and you'll be like, wow, economic growth, supply and demand, and emotion. I see it. Thanks. You're welcome. If you have any questions about anything, of course, as always, toss them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer them there. And if you like this video, toss it a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe if you want. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.